Okay, go ahead.
So welcome everybody. This is the I-Corps information session. We're gearing up for summer 2021. And I love to tell everybody that really I-Corps is focused on driving innovation through customer discovery. And you're gonna learn more about that as we go through our presentation today. We welcome questions, so please feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. We're gonna have plenty of time at the end for questions. What I do right now is I'd love to introduce the other members of the I-Corps team that are here today, starting with Dunbar Burney.
Hi, so I'm Dunbar Burney. I'm a professor in material science and engineering, and I'm the PI on the grant that we brought in to make this possible. I took a team to nationals several years ago, and I drank the Kool-Aid and really like this customer discovery methodology for exploring commercialization. So happy to bring it to you today. So,
Mark?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Mark Guzman. I'm the program manager of the Rutgers I-Corps site. I'm material science engineering background, a bachelor's with an MBA from Rutgers Business School. I served as an entrepreneurial lead for a national I-Corps team, working on a technology in the physics department up in Newark campus, where Benjalia is. And so really passionate about helping research teams transition their technology outside of the lab and into the market. So I'm really happy to help.
Dan?
Hi everyone. My name is Dan Benjalia. I'm with Rutgers Innovation Ventures Office, which is our technology transfer operation. We're responsible for protecting and leveraging intellectual property that's created here at Rutgers and getting it out into the world, partnering with our great researchers. Personal background is 25 years after a undergraduate in ECE and an MBA, 25 years in industry, both large companies and small. So I've done a number of startups as well as all the way up to Fortune 50 companies in their strategy and corporate development groups, trying to figure out how to bring innovations to market and how to take all these ideas and make them have an impact in the world. I was at Rutgers just about 2 years now. I've been involved with this program about half of that time. And it's just amazing to see all the innovations and all the passion of the innovators here at Rutgers.
And Connie?
Well, hello, everyone. And my name is Connie Pascal. I have a PhD in Communication, Information, and Media from the School of Communication and Information here at Rutgers. Lifelong entrepreneur. I do a lot of work around messaging, value proposition, helping people figure those things out, as well as the information landscape, ecosystems, software development, that sort of thing. Like Dan, I just am amazed at the passion and variety and diversity and incredible thinking and just the people that are part of this program, and it is truly an honor and a pleasure to be part of this team. So that's it.
And oops, someone on the mute, need to go on mute. Oh, thanks. So and I'm Lori Dars. So I'm the director of the I-Corps Site Program. My background is in business development and marketing, and I have an MBA from Rutgers. I used to work in the Innovation Ventures group, started out working with faculty inventors at Rutgers, helping them marketing their innovations and working with the startup companies once they were formed. And then I transitioned over to the New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station. Really have been involved with student entrepreneurs and this whole ecosystem at Rutgers. I created the Entrepreneurship Coalition at Rutgers. And as the rest of our team has said, just really have a passion for helping faculty, staff, student, community inventors transition their technologies from an idea to benefit society. So without any further ado, we're going to start going into our presentation. Again, anybody new who joined, I've let some few people in. Please tell us where you're from in the chat, just so we can get an idea of who's on with us. And feel free at any time to put your questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible. So I-Corps was started in 2011 by the National Science Foundation And really what it was thought of as a methodology for faculty researchers who the National Science Foundation had funded. They had a lot of innovation sitting in the research labs that they were working on, but it wasn't becoming commercialized. And this program was really founded with that in mind. It's now one of the most successful programs for commercializing science in the US. It's actually legislated. And in 2015, the White House created a strategy for American innovation, which really expanded the I-Corps to all the major funding agencies. Even in the short time that it's been around, some of the statistics are really incredible. And the ones I really wanted to point out to you are the number of businesses that have been started, over 1,000 businesses, over 2,000 employees, probably even more than that from companies that were started through I-Corps. And then the follow-on funding is over 719 million. So this program really has done what it set out to do. And I'm going to get into some of the goals now, and you'll see. Before I do that, so I-Corps started with a few sites around the country and 5 nodes. And now we're at about 9 nodes. And we work with the New York City Regional Innovation Node, which is circled in red. And now there's 99 sites across the country. So what began in 2011 in just a few locations is now spread pretty widely. You see mostly on the coast and around the bottom half of the country, but it really covers a good portion of the United States. And our I-Corps team members are part of this innovation network. Next slide, Mark. So our goals for our Rutgers I-Corps site and the other sites around the country really align with the national program. And that is to increase the impact of basic research, really help these teams that are at universities transition their innovations and express some of the challenges that go along with entrepreneurship and provide them with this ecosystem to help them further their innovations. And by doing that and teaching them some of the skills that are in I-Corps, it really decreases that commercialization risk. They learn skills and strategies, things they wouldn't learn in a typical research lab. And what it does is also, most of our teams continue with their innovations, but some realize that what they're working on may not have the value that they thought. So it helps them fail fast. And by failing fast, we mean before they spend a whole lot of time or a whole lot of money or more time or more money. Lastly, one of the key goals of I-Corps is to increase networking opportunities. As entrepreneurs or innovators, it's really hard to do this on your own. You need resources and you need people that are supportive. And I-Corps does that. It creates this wonderful network of engineers and innovators, business leaders, and people that you can go to help you with your innovation. Our site program is a short course. The national program is much longer. It's 7 weeks. Our summer program that we're doing is about 4 weeks. And you do not have to have any previous NSF funding to attend our program. Our program will connect you to that national program. And for that program, you do need to have the lineage. But our program, you don't need to have any funding of any kind to participate. Next slide. So we're going to cover these topics in more detail today, but I just wanted to give you a really quick overview of what the I-Corps Site Program is about. It is a cohort program. We're doing one this summer, and we do them every spring and every fall. It's team-based, so the majority of our teams have between 2 and 5 members. We do require two members, and we can help you if you only have 1 member, but that's typically our teams that apply have 2 to 5 members. We do give training in business concepts. There are 6 virtual sessions where you get hands-on learning opportunities, such as you see in the picture below. Our teams present every week. We provide funding opportunities and guidance on how to take that next step with your innovation. Again, we talked about customer discovery, right? Innovation through customer discovery. The whole focus of I-Corps is doing interviews with potential customers, users, payers, people that have are stakeholders in your business, and learning what's important to them before you launch your business. That's really the whole crux of our program. We also do provide specialized software over a 3-month period, and you're eligible as a team to get up to $2,500 reimbursement for customer discovery. Many of our teams we match with mentors. It's ideal if you have your own, but we can match you with a mentor. And we have a fellowship program, which Mark's going to talk about, where we could match our teams with 1 or more fellows. And next slide.
Okay, thanks, Lori. So yeah, the whole I-Corps program was founded by Steve Blank. He was a Stanford professor teaching his students about the lean launchpad methodology. Basically, the idea, like Lori said, is, his famous quote is, "There are no facts inside the building. You have to get out of the building." A lot of researchers really focus on technology push. They're building this really great technology and they think everybody will love it. And they spend a lot of time and money and years and resources to get it to a certain perfect point, and then it goes out into the market and nobody buys it and they don't understand why. So this whole purpose is to get out and meet with those customers before you build it, so that way you can figure out what they're looking for and build what they're looking for. You can identify the problems in the market and start solving those problems, rather than just building a cool technology. You actually build what people want. And so that's why they call it evidence-based entrepreneurship through customer discovery. And the cool thing about it is the scientists understand it, is that, you have these hypotheses that you think this is your perfect customer, or you think this is why they would buy it, but then you actually go out and meet with them, and it turns out it's actually not that person, someone that possibly knows that person or related to that person, but it's also, maybe it's kind of related to, maybe you thought they would want it because it's cheaper, but in fact they don't care about the price. They want something that will make their process faster. So again, these are they're hypotheses that are tested using the scientific method, and then they're validated or invalidated through experimentation. Like Lori said, we have a team-based program. And so the star of the show, the star of the team, is really the entrepreneurial lead, the person who is really focused on the market opportunity, the customers out there, and really understanding what the needs are in the market. That's typically a student, a grad student, postdoc, someone that really can lead the whole team. Now the technical lead, and some faculty might have some confusion about this, even though they may be the inventor in the name on the patent, they actually, they understand the science side, but really they have to kind of let go of the reins to give the control to the entrepreneurial lead, because the design of this is that the entrepreneurial lead, when they graduate, they can go on and create the startup company, whereas the technical lead or the academic lead will probably not want to leave their faculty tenured position. And then the third position is, the third role is the industry mentor, somebody from outside the university who really has ties to industry, can make connections for the teams to meet with these potential customers. I've seen a lot of I-Corps applications where they say we have no ties to industry. And so if, those teams who have an industry mentor are way better equipped to meet with these potential customers than those who don't. And we actually do have a form that if you don't have an industry mentor, it's not a problem per se, we can actually help. So, the eligibility, it says here at the bottom, is you need at least 2 people, two of these team members to participate in the program. If you apply with one, we can try to do some matching with you, but we do want to help, with team formation in any way we can to help our teams go through I-Corps. And this is an experiential learning. It's not like we're not really going to quiz you and test you, but it's really what you get out of the program in terms of like meeting with people, really understanding what the needs are in the market. We focus on, the class time, not so much on teaching you. A lot of that stuff is like in a flipped classroom approach where you learn it by watching videos. So that way, when we come into class together, you can actually do your presentations and talk about what you learned from your customer discovery interviews. So even though we've got certain time slots for our sessions, a lot of the work happens in between the sessions where you actually have to set up, schedule appointments with these potential customers, ask them questions, do an interview, and then document it, and then report back on the weekly, session. And because it's a cohort mentality, there's about 10 teams per cohort. You'll see innovations from all different, from all across the university, just like you can see here in the chat. People are coming from different departments, different schools. But ultimately, we're all going through the same program. And so you kind of learn from each other things that you might not have come across. So when you come across it later on in your team, then you know how to approach it. Like I said, the videos are by Steve Blank, and so they are really, really great. They're very simple concepts. A lot of us here on the call are scientists studying very deep technology innovations, really tough science. But a lot of these concepts are very simple. It's just a lot of the scientists have never been exposed to it. So that's why you can watch it, and we kind of help you learn these things by going the back and forth with the mentorship from the teaching team. There's a lot of professional development, presentations, skill building, and interactive exercises where you work together as a team. It's really unique, and it's actually a lot of fun. But networking is because we're in a cohort, you meet with all sorts of different people from all across the university that normally you would just be in your own department, but now you'll make ties, make connections with people, not only across the university, all across the state, and hopefully across the country. This big blue box here, Innovation Within, that's the name of the software that we use that you can use to document all the interviews that you do. Our focus is to do 25 customer discovery interviews over the 5 weeks, and using Innovation Within platform, you can keep track of them. And so this is the business model canvas. This is pretty much the foundation of any business. Can be boiled down to these 9 business model canvas components. But in our site program, we only focus in this red circle, the value propositions in the middle, and then customer segments on the right. Because basically, if you can't get those 2 right, then there's no reason to move forward with the rest of the canvas. So we really focus to make sure you get this right. Once you have value propositions validated and your customer segments validated, and they match up with each other, that's called product market fit. And that's when we want you to proceed onto the National I-Corps, where you focus on all 9. And so each of the weeks we have a different weekly topic. Most of the sessions for the summer cohort are on Thursday mornings. We have one session on Monday and one on Wednesday, and we have a couple of office hours in between. But the idea is each week has a theme: customer discovery, value propositions, customers, users, and payers. And then in the last week, we introduced teams to the larger innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem, because you could work on your research in the lab all day, but at the end of the day, you're going to be looking for funding, right? And so we help connect you to the appropriate funding opportunities at your stage of development. And, we continue to do that even after you're done with the cohort. So we have a vested interest in your success, because your success is our success. One of the key things also with this I-Corps site is we have reimbursable. Each team is awarded up to $2,500 for approved reimbursable expenses. Before COVID, the focus was on travel. So it was like airfare, hotel, Uber, Lyft, mass transit, things like that. But because the university is not allowing any travel, we now focus more towards virtual conferences and trade shows, professional organizations and memberships, and digital communication tools like Zoom Pro and LinkedIn Premium. So all these digital tools and things like that is really to help you get in front of customers. And we're open. If you have something that you want to request, we're open to explore if that's something that we could do. But we want you to spend the money. So don't forget, spend the money. And we're gonna, I'm telling you now, if you're thinking about I-Corps, already start thinking about how you can spend the money, because a lot of people forget. And then by the time the cohort is over, they're like, now they want to spend it. So it's better to front load your spending so you really get the most out of it. And Lori?
Yeah, so before I continue, I want to mention she stepped away from her computer, but Elaine Mclean, who is the director of Rutgers Small Business Development Center, has joined us. She'll be here for the Q&A at the end. Oh, there she is. Elaine, you want to introduce yourself?
How are you? I am the regional director of the Small Business Development Center at Rutgers, New Brunswick, and we offer small business opportunities, and we also focus on those people who want to pursue getting commercialization or grants or whatever your path may be at this stage, to get opportunities to join I-Corps or to pursue SBA grants if you're at that stage. I am on the teaching team, and I do present the value proposition day. We make an event out of it. And it just helps you to understand the full process and the full business model. If you can get that value proposition right, then you're on your way. And I look forward to doing this and being a part of it once again. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thank
And
you.
again, I encourage anybody to put questions in the chat. So I know we've gone through a lot of things really quickly. It's a lot of information. But what I want to talk about now is why would you want to do I-Corps? Okay, you have an innovation, you have an idea, anything from, we take, well thought out ideas all the way up to patented innovations. One of the greatest things about I-Corps is that we are very inclusive. It's any discipline. The National Science Foundation likes us to focus on deep tech, but we are open-minded, and we have had social innovations. Their definition of technology is very broad. There's educational technologies. We have life sciences technologies, engineering. We've seen pretty much everything. And as I mentioned, you may not know where to start. You may be stuck. And I-Corps is a great way to really help you move your innovation forward. Our teams are from all across the university, Camden, Newark, New Brunswick. We have community teams, but they're also at different stages. And we're not comparing team to team during our program. It's really watching each team progress over the weeks. And I will say, and I think the teaching team would agree with me unequivocally, that every team that goes through this program will progress. They'll learn, and they'll move from point A to point B. We're not going to say you're going to have making revenue after this program. That's really not what it's about. It's about learning whether, that product market fit that Mark mentioned. Is your value proposition aligned with your customer segments? Teams learn about segments they never thought about. They learned about values or benefits that they would have that they never thought about. And it's not from us. It's from the work that you guys put in over the course of the program, doing the interviews. You learn all this valuable information from talking to customers. But what we do is we give you that skill, and we help you along that path of commercialization. The other thing that I-Corps will do is it will increase your success in anything else that you're going to apply to after this. And that could be funding. That could be a business plan competition. It could be a grant you're writing. It'll teach you it'll show you that you'll be a different type of teacher if you're an educator. You'll be a different type of researcher if you're a researcher, and it'll improve you your skills if you're a student. So it gives you so many valuable things. I talk about career development. Everybody learns different ways and at different speeds, but you will have an opportunity to present every week if you're an entrepreneurial lead or a fellow. They will present sometimes during the cohort. You'll learn about presenting. You'll learn about other businesses that are in the cohort. You'll learn about giving feedback, all different things. And as Mark mentioned, you'll foster new collaborations from across the university. You'll never be with another group of people like this again, people from all different disciplines, different ages, different nationalities, different innovations. We're diverse in every way. So that's what makes this program special. And there's probably, many more things I could go on telling you about, but I'm going to go to the next slide and let you see from some of the quotes that we've had. Mark, next slide. And some of our successes. So these are only a few. And as we just had our 10th cohort, we've now trained over 100 teams and 400 participants, and we're starting to see more and more successes. These teams did over 2,300 interviews, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. They really got out of their comfort zone. They did the interviews. And what that does is that gives you insight about your innovation. Mark mentioned using the scientific method. You're taking guesses about what your innovation does, and you're getting insights by doing those interviews. And that's probably the biggest success of our teams. We did have one of our teams up at the top, Renew CO2, get a phase 2 SBIR grant over $1 million recently. That's a monetary success. They also won a NASA Challenge grant and other funding from SBIR and STTR. But there's been so many student winners who've won places in business plan competition. I've listed some of the competitions that SULIS has won, but there's been many, many others. We've had teams get funding from BARDA. We've had a lot of teams get Tech Advance grants from Rutgers. They've gotten Health Advance grants. We also send a number of teams onto the National I-Corps program, which is a $50,000 grant. So there's just so many successes. If you look at the picture on the bottom right, that is a prototype that one of our teams, AirSys, they were a student startup team. They've built that prototype. It's right now being used by the Rutgers Makerspace for people to pick up 3D printing. This is an amazing student startup. They've hired probably over 20 interns over the past 3 years, and they've had a competitive program where they've gotten interns from Ivy League schools from across the country working for them on this startup. So there's just been so many amazing successes from this program. Next slide, Mark. So every cohort, we do a survey and we ask our teams, we give them pretty direct feedback during the cohort. We say, now it's your time to tell us what you think about I-Corps and how it can be improved. And every cohort is a little different because we take that feedback very seriously. And I can sit here and tell you, the great things about this program, but I think it's more impactful. If you look at this slide, we've kind of broken it down into what the main things we've heard from our participants is. And that's basically that they get new thinking. They learn how to think like an entrepreneur. A lot of our participants are faculty researchers that have spent time in the lab and have never really dedicated time to focus on their innovations. They've created them. They think they have something, but they haven't spent that dedicated time to focus on the business side versus the technology. So it gives them a new way of thinking and makes them open-minded. New skills. So I mentioned the interviewing skills and the presentation skills, but one of the things that surprised us when we heard it the first couple times is how many students, faculty, staff say that this program gave them more confidence. And that's a wonderful thing to hear, is that they're now able to go talk to people they hadn't talked to before, able to stand up and present, or just, some of the skills that they've learned, they just feel, they feel better about themselves while they're doing it. You'll definitely meet new people in this program, and everybody says that they're surprised that they met somebody that they never would have met before. Our teams are also very, very collaborative with one another. So we may be able to provide feedback to our teams, but you also get a lot of feedback from other members of the cohort. And when you're doing those customer discovery interviews, you'll often get leads from other cohort members. They know somebody in a certain business that they can help you meet. They have an uncle or a cousin or a neighbor that is in the field that you're looking for. So it's very, very collaborative and very friendly environment. And new opportunities. This program will push you to do things you haven't done, and it is a challenge, but that's how you grow. And everyone says that it did get them out of their comfort zone. They were really not, it was difficult to do it first, but after, they presented and they did some interviews, they got much more comfortable with it. And they really felt that was what gave them such a great learning experience. Just one of the quotes I wanted to read, it helped me to understand the customer needs and the various factors that drive the market. That was from a faculty member who, really had spent a lot of time in the lab and wasn't, focusing on the innovation so much. So this program really can help teach you new things and get you outside of that comfort zone and just really expand your ability to move your innovation forward.
And actually, yeah, Lori, one other thing I mentioned is we've actually heard some faculty alter the trajectory of their research because of findings that they found out in the market. They said, hey, I have a different research question now that I've learned some of these new things. So it's actually really interesting that it's so fundamental to the things that they learn. It actually changes the way they do research too. So it's quite amazing.
So I did see, I did get a question in the chat from somebody directly to me about if product market fit is good, would we help identify what is patentable? And I'm going to throw that one out to Dan.
Sure. So that's what my office does for Rutgers owned innovations. So, in the course of this, in the course of I-Corps, actually, we can talk a little bit about what kind of what the general rules are for patent, for what is or is not patentable. I don't know who the questioner was, but if it is Rutgers' own technology, meaning it was done by a Rutgers faculty member or through a grant that was administered through Rutgers, then you would file a disclosure with our office, and we'll actually work with you to answer that question exactly.
And for those that aren't with the office, we do provide resources for where to go to get that help. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark now to talk about our diversity inclusion supplement.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Lori. So last summer, we actually were awarded a diversity and inclusion summit because along with NSF's priority, they want to broaden participation for underrepresented groups, which include African Americans or Blacks, Hispanic and Latinos, Alaska Natives and Native Americans, along with women and people with disabilities. And so we created a fellowship to enable those underrepresented groups to participate with an existing I-Corps team. And so we do have it's a stipend, it's like a paid educational experience to participate within an I-Corps team to learn about innovation and commercialization processes at Rutgers. The idea is that these individuals are very interested in innovation, but they don't have the right pathway, and NSF, National Science Foundation, really wants to promote an innovation culture all across the country to maintain our competitiveness against other countries. And so there's two types of fellowships. Number one is a team member. Basically, the fellow will serve as like a assistant or kind of like an additional person to help with customer discovery activities. They are willing to learn and they're coachable, will help with the networking opportunities, but really they're kind of supporting the primary entrepreneurial lead for that team. And a cohort and ecosystem fellow is someone who works more closely with the teaching team to help manage the cohort, to help really like see what happens behind the scenes when the teaching team kind of confers together to decide a path forward for some of the teams. But they really learn a lot about how innovation processes happen at Rutgers on the whole. And so this fellowship application, it's for individuals only. So you should be from one of those underrepresented groups that I mentioned earlier. There's a Qualtrics survey that we can put in the chat later. But you really want to have leadership experience, so that way, even though you're assisting the primary entrepreneurial lead, you can also do some stuff autonomously, and you want to create the fellowship and do things that you want to do too. We would hope that you have some sort of interest or experience with innovation, entrepreneurship, startup company, or a prototype or product development, some sort of thing that you can say, hey, I really like innovation and I want to do more. And part of the questionnaire or the survey is why do you want to become an I-Corps fellow? What do you want to get out of the program? And so after you submit that application, you do we do an interview to get to learn about you and what your interests are in the fellowship. And then from there, we try to match you with a team that's already been accepted into I-Corps. And it's hit or miss sometimes, but we try to line you up best as we can. And what we've seen is the fellows really contribute in a really meaningful way. And it's great for the fellows, it's great for the teams. And so we'll tell you more about that later when we have a fellow who will be talking about her experience. But then when we match you with the team, you have to be accepted by those team members, and also the team members have to accept you, or you have to accept them. So that's the matching process. And so this is the cohort dates. Basically, for the cohort 11 in the summer, the yellow parts are for the fellows and the white parts are the traditional cohort. So mostly the day that you do the presentations are these Thursdays, July 15th, July 22nd, July 29th, and August 4th and August 5th. They're split into two because the final presentations are long. But anyway, we'll have this calendar up on the website in a little bit. We just recently got these confirmed. But for those fellows, you do have these 3 sessions: one before the cohort, one in the middle, and one afterwards. Okay, and so now we've been talking a lot, and we could talk all day about what we think, but we really want to give a chance to some of the participants who've gone through our cohort recently. So I'd ask Brian if you could. He was an entrepreneurial lead for one of the teams that just went through recently. So maybe Brian, if you could just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about, what you did in I-Corps, what you got out of it.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Brian. I am a new postdoc in Dr. Dongfan Liu's lab in the Center of Immunity and Inflammation, and I'm studying cancer immunology. My PhD was in molecular biology, more on like the genomic instability, like basic science side. So I came into this cohort a little bit in a unique position because I was working with Dr. Liu on his projects on CAR NK cells, and I was really interested in it, but I have no experience in immunology or cell therapy. But he accepted me into his lab as a postdoc for me to come in to his lab and try to commercialize this patented technology. So I came into this I-Corps. So actually, I've done I-Corps before at my previous institution. So I knew that this I-Corps program was going to be instrumental for me to identify my customers, identify what's the need out there in the industry. And I guess number one reason that I think you should participate here is that you really find out what's the problem in the industry, because just from talking to like maybe 10 or so people in the industry, my team and I identified a bunch of maybe like three or four pain points that they have where our technology can fit in. So that really helped us understand the problem, and then again also find the next steps to this technology, like how do we commercialize it, who do we need to collaborate with, also like how to tweak the system so that it fits in with the need for the industry. And the third one, I guess, third reason why I think you should participate is the soft skills. If you can't tell, I am usually more reserved, and by joining this I-Corps cohort or I-Corps program, I got out of my comfort zone. I had to talk to people. I had to email people, like cold email people. So then that really kind of gave me a lot of like experience on how to approach people and how to talk to like extend the conversation a little bit longer than it needs to be, just to like build up my people skills a lot. And also the last thing I think is probably the most important is the networking that comes with joining this cohort, and not just with the people you interview, like the I-Corps team. They're really valuable networking resource. I think I've talked to all of the individual team members of the I-Corps. So Mark, Lori, Dan, Dunbar, Beth, and Connie, also Elaine. I think I talked to them individually at one point, and they're all super helpful. They're very open to reaching out to their contacts, even if it's like warm contacts or just people they've heard about that they don't know. They would connect you readily if you ask for it. So that was really helpful. So far, I guess it's still kind of early in my career in this project, commercializing the product, but eventually I think I will be reaching out to the people that I interviewed to ask specific questions on how we can collaborate and stuff like that. So this is really helpful. This was really helpful for me to kind of understand the industry, because I now understand how cell therapy works from upstream manufacturing to downstream. And also I have some connections in the cell therapy field. And this includes like a bunch of really top tier cell therapy biotech, such as like T-Immunity, Cellarity, BMS. So that it's just really helpful to know what you're working on and understand why people would want to buy your stuff.
Great. Thank you so much, Brian. That was really great. I appreciate that. And you also had a fellow on your teams, which I think helped you a lot. Would you say anything about your fellow?
So I think I got kind of lucky being paired with a fellow that was a postdoc. So her name's Nicole Thorson, and she's a postdoc in evolutionary biology. So it was really useful for me to like talk to her and like basically bounce off ideas and kind of get confirmation that my idea makes sense, because that's a lot of my problems most of the time. Like I have a lot of ideas in my head, but I just don't know if they make sense. So that was really helpful for me to have very competent fellow. But from the presentations that I saw from other fellows who I think are undergraduates, they're also very competent. They seem like they know what they're talking about, and they are really enthusiastic as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. And we actually have one of our fellows with us. So Beyonce, if you could just share a little, you can introduce yourself as well and share a little bit about, I guess, what you were thinking about, because we have some folks on the call who might be interested in the fellowship. So maybe you could share a little bit about what you thought about, when you were applying for the fellowship and what you did and what you got out of it.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. All right, so I hope everyone is finding this information insightful. My name is Beyonce Doyle. So like Mark said, I'll just give you some information about how I felt about the program. So I began the Rutgers I-Corps program in March 2021. So I was a part of the spring cohort. And I like to consider it a 6-week journey because prior to beginning the program, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue within science. But this experience totally opened me up to the whirlwind of possibilities. And they were things that I was totally unexposed to before, which changed my opinion. So currently, I'm a senior at Fairleigh Dickinson University. I'm majoring in biology, and I understand that as a student, you're often wanting more out of your experience than just the coursework, especially with everything being online. It's limiting the connections that you have and your potential opportunities. So within this program, I had met with some LSAMP directors looking for opportunities, and I reached out, applied, was accepted, and Mark and Lori were incredibly insightful and helpful throughout the whole program, very encouraging. And I started about a week late, so I had some catching up to do, and they were able to assist me appropriately, getting me started with the onboarding and all of that. I joined a team of 5 very intelligent men. And, for some people that can be a little unencouraging, to say the least, but I felt very encouraged throughout the entire process, especially with them helping me. I was not expecting that. So to actually receive that encouragement was very helpful. We were working on a multifunctional HMO immune supplement that supports mothers in formula feeding their infants. And I began to understand customer discovery, conducted multiple interviews, and found a need for their product actually within my own community. So that was pretty awesome. And this process required a lot of critical thinking, and our background, within science definitely helped with that. The directors themselves put together an amazing network of individuals, and we got to work with them through office hours. Their insight honestly goes beyond just what you're learning like in the classroom, and can actually help you within the industry and developing your own business model. So all in all, if you're really looking for an experience that goes beyond just research, connects the dots between science, technology, innovation, and understanding if there's really a market potential for your product, this is it. I would encourage, especially, I've seen that we had a freshman on here. If I was a freshman getting started within this program, like I would do it every single year, to be totally honest, especially if you're coming from a background where you don't have any mentors or anything like that, or you're just getting started within science and are looking for just more than just research. This is definitely it.
Thank you so much, Beyonce. You're a senior, but we're not letting you go because you say that so beautifully and so eloquently, and it just comes out so genuine and heartfelt, so much better than any of us could ever say. So thank you for the kind words and for saying it so beautifully. And we so appreciate all that you've done. Beyonce's been doing this for us for a couple info sessions now, and I think we want to keep her full time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Beyonce. So let me go back to my screen. Sorry, one second. Just going back to the screen. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Beyonce. I'm sure if anybody has questions, you can send them questions in the chat. But all in all, the applications are open, right? And so that's what we're really here for. We want to encourage more and more of these teams from all across the university to apply for I-Corps. It is hard for us to reach out to you virtually, so I really appreciate you guys all coming here because we genuinely all love this program and we want to help encourage you to get your technology commercialized. Not because we want you to make money, although we do, but we know that your innovation can have some sort of societal benefit, whether it makes people's lives easier. We had an innovation in this previous cohort where they were thinking that the technology was going to help people overcome like alcoholic effects, but then they didn't realize like how people are dying from the problems that are in the real world, and so they're shifting their focus towards helping prevent people from dying. So they didn't know because they were just working on the research lab on what it could do, but they realized it could do so much more. So again, our cohort for the summer is open. It's going to be from July 12th to August 5th. We recognize that some people may not be ready. So just start the conversation with us if you have questions. You can go to icorps.rutgers.edu to submit the application. Again, the I-Corps opportunity is open to all Rutgers faculty, staff, and students and alumni, and invited schools in the region. So, Hispanic serving or minority serving institutions, historically Black colleges and university, or any tribal colleges and university. Again, we are trying to broaden participation. If there are any questions, you can feel free to email either of us and we will stay on to help answer any questions. Lori, was there anything else I missed?
No, just, and we, the schools, if you're in the region and you have underrepresented students at your school, or you're working with some of our colleagues throughout the region, we've let other teams in from the region. So it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. So don't think because you're not one of the at Rutgers or not one of these schools that are listed here that you're not eligible. We may be able to put a fellow on your team and get you eligible. So just apply, and it's not a long application. And this is the best way for us to judge whether you are a good fit for the program. Where sometimes we've had teams that we've deferred. We say, we think you're a good fit, but you need another team member, or we think you're a good fit, but you may not have enough time to do this over the summer. You may want to do it in the fall. But the only way we can really evaluate is if you apply. And as Mark said, we're here. If you want to ask us any questions now, we'd love to have questions.
Hi, this is Sharon. How are you doing?
Hi, Sharon.
Hi. I'm at a weird point. And that is, I have an idea. It's basically developing a platform for a new way of foreign language instruction, specifically Spanish. And I'm looking to develop a learning app / game that will do that. And so I participated in an early accelerator program, but as much as I've taught, because I've experienced teaching, I have experience also as a learner. And so I've kind of been massaging this idea for a few years. And so I started really putting the pieces together this past February. And so now I'm at this point where I'm in an early accelerated program, and I'm doing the business plan. I'm pitch decks, all of that. And so it's like, okay, I feel like, am I missing something? Did I skip steps? Maybe I didn't, because it's also, I'm an alumni of Rutgers and it's all through Rutgers. And so it's very in-depth. So I'm like, I don't think I'm missing something, but I feel like maybe I should ask some questions and get other people's input. Maybe I don't know what I think I know. So that's where I'm in like this weird point.
So, yeah, so we see that actually. One of the key things that distinguishes I-Corps from other programs is the customer discovery piece. We really we have a metric on you have to meet with 25 potential customers over the course of the several weeks. And we're going to harp on you if you're not meeting the numbers. Some of these other things that you just do a pitch and however it sounds, that's something. But we don't focus on your pitch. We focus on what you learn from outside the building, what you learn from meeting with these potential customers in terms of what the problem is.
Okay.
In terms of like, let's say learning Spanish, right? What is the challenge in learning Spanish? Is it you know what I mean? Like
I said, well, most of the challenges that you have the disenfranchised learner, and you also have the the lack of actual practice in real world. And what I did was I just looked at our instructional method, and I looked at how we acquire knowledge in the pre-K brain and how we actually acquire it as native speakers, which has nothing to do with literacy. But all of our language instruction is based on literacy first. So you're already complicating the process by engaging the brain in too many parts. It's too much cognitive load in order to.
Shireen, I think, that's a little too much detail, so maybe we can talk about it offline. You can schedule a meeting with us and we can talk with you about it, but
so what I would say, Sharon, is this, right? As you think about whether you want to enter the program, right, is do you have a really good grasp of who your customer segments are and what the value proposition is? Because that's what we focus on. If the answer is, well, I'm not sure what those words mean, and I don't know whether I have that, right, then we may be helpful, and it may be a good parallel to the pitch deck. Because right, what I'm talking about, the value proposition, the customer segment is the substance that goes into the pitch deck of who's going to buy it and why do they care. If you can answer that clearly and cogently in like 2 sentences, then maybe you don't need this program. If you're struggling with what I just said, then you should reach out to us and talk to us and see whether we can help you.
Right. And are you actually, even before that, do you actually have some sort of some sort of prototype, something that you could show or demonstrate?
I do not have a prototype, but I do have just some basic outline framework, narration of the story plot line for the app.
Okay.
I can answer the question, but I'm a trained attorney, so I don't trust myself when I answer the question because I can answer a question very well.
Well, so from what I've heard from what you've described, I think you would be a good candidate for the program. We don't, it sounds like you really do know about the learning and cognitive arrangements and structures for kids learning a new language. And, but there, I think you might still learn from the customer discovery process more about whether you should be interacting with teachers or whether it's parents or whether there are clubs, or how do you really get to the right people who are going to say, wow, I really need this, and $25 for this or whatever. And so we encourage that outreach in a variety of ways so that you might run into some surprises, and it could really help fit things together.
I agree. I like surprises. Keeps life interesting. All right, I've taken up a lot of your time. I'll let someone else speak. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. It was nice to hear from you. Anyone else have questions or concerns or want to know some more detail on something?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, McKelly.
During the summer, I will travel to a lot of places. Is that still compatible with the I-Corps program? Or do I have to, or there is a need for me to be, around Rutgers?
So, the travel is not allowed for reimbursement for Rutgers, right? Like they've banned all travel. So we're doing everything virtual, probably through, into 2022. So the good thing is if you're not around, Dan, because Dan is not around, but
only for 1 week I won't be around.
Yeah. So feel free to go wherever you want. Go to Italy. Yeah, you can do it from Italy.
I can do it from Italy. It's fine, right?
Yeah. Only if you take us with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess the challenge there is the time zones, right?
Right.
So
but I saw that all your sessions are in the morning. So actually,
right. And you'll have to figure out how to get your interviews done, right? If your interviews are US focused, right, you're gonna have to work around getting the interviews done. But from our perspective, it doesn't matter where you are. It's all on the computer over the summer.
And we've actually, always tried to have a little bit of a virtual component because we've had one of our earliest cohorts. We had a team where the teammate was in Puerto Rico. And then we had another team where the teammate was in Florida. So we've tried to, have this virtual component for that reason. which helped us a little bit going into COVID. Not, you know, we weren't 100% prepared, but we were a little prepared. So yeah, we don't care where you are as long as you do the work.
And McKelly, just so you know, I think we've said it, but we didn't really spell it out, so I'll spell it out. The primary person who does all the presentations and stuff is the entrepreneurial lead. And if you're the technical lead, you won't really have to present, although you will have to participate in some of the interactive exercises. So yeah, it's just something to take note of. So if you have a student or grad student or postdoc working with you, they'll be the one who'll be more local.
And a team, if you have a couple of them, that's even better, because we can have co-entrepreneurial leads. You could have multiple that work. You know, if there's a few doing interviews, you know, we say one to do the talking and the other to kind of listen and take notes is helpful.
Great. Any other questions? Oh, well, actually, it's the top of the hour. We can stay on, but I do want to just share with this one final slide. Where is it? Because I want to share the next event that's coming up. So again, go to icorps.rutgers.edu to apply. But we do have an upcoming event on May 5th. Lori, do you want to?
Sure. So Dean Gaida is
Connie.
a found. What?
Or Connie, you or Connie. It's fine.
Oh, I think is Connie. I think she jumped off.
She did.
Oh, okay. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So Dean Gaida is the founder and CEO of Infragistics, which is a tech company, a New Jersey-based tech company formed in 1989. And Dean has grown this company to be internationally known. They do a lot of software for developers. They're very focused on innovation, and they're very forward-thinking. Dean is a friend of Rutgers. He's given software to our student population. He's provided funding for our student innovation competition, and he's willing to come to Rutgers and talk to our innovators about, you know, what it's like running a tech business. What are some tips for innovators and entrepreneurs? That's going to be on May 5th. He's going to talk for about half an hour and then allow time for Q&A. I really encourage anybody, particularly if you're in the tech space, if you're developing an app or any kind of software, but just if you want to learn just some general tips on innovation to attend this event. He's a really nice guy, great with answering questions. I really look forward to having him present this on behalf of I-Corps.
Okay, great. And that will also be another opportunity to learn about the I-Corps program again. So if you have colleagues or friends or students who you want to join, you can have, you know, to learn more about I-Corps because they missed this session, feel free to invite them for the May 5th session at 2:30 p.m. Okay, so we can stay on and answer any questions. If you stayed on this long, it sounds like you're interested or you want to learn more. So I could stop the recording, I guess, but I'm happy to take questions.